70% of our planet is covered in water. Vast oceans, wild rivers, mirror-like lakes. In the sport of canoeing, paddlers compete in every one of these environments, each requiring a unique set of skills beyond just the athlete's physical conditioning. In this highly competitive world of ocean swells, raging rivers, and muscle-draining stretches of flat water, one man has dominated and lifted himself above the rest time after time. Many consider Hank McGregor to be the most versatile paddler in history. This year, he became world marathon champion for the third time, crossing the line ahead of Spanish rival Alonso in an inspiring display of power and determination. Was Hank born to this destiny, or can a champion forge themselves?
How do you take a 14-year-old kid and make him into a world champion?
How was this winning machine created?
Hank's story really started right here in the club down here at Umgani, 1992. Watched the Olympic Games, watched the South African flag going round and round, and he came to me afterwards. He said, "That's what I want to do. I want to become a world champion."
Since I was a kid, I've always dreamt of being the best in the world. Some people always dreamt about being a fireman or a cop or a pilot or something. I just wanted to be the best in the world. Some people laugh when you're as a kid when you say that, and watch Olympic videos of people and you see the achievement on their face and the satisfaction. You're like, I want that, you know, that's what I want.
You don't become world champion by just becoming a world champion. You're not born to be a world champion in any sport. It's thousands and thousands of hours.
Having represented South Africa over 50 times in swimming, surf lifesaving and canoeing saving, Lee McGregor, Hank's dad, understood what it took to get to the top better than anyone. Unfortunately, his dreams of international victory were never realized when for 20 years he, like many great South African athletes, was blocked from competition during South Africa's isolation years. Perhaps Lee's dream could be realized by his son.
Initially, I wanted to be the best in athletics. I was passionate about the 1500 meters, and as growing up, I ended up getting a disease in my knees. It was basically running too much and growing too fast all at the same time. So took to paddling really, and haven't looked back, you know. So for me, it was a matter of being best in the world, and whatever it was, I just wanted to be the best in the world. And that's the one thing money can't buy is a world title.
Hank went to DHS high school, very quiet sort of person, and I thought there's one thing that I would really love to do with my son is to show him the world that I know. And I said I'd like him to sail with me on a little boat, on a yacht, go from Durban to Cape Town to America, across the Atlantic, 8,000 miles. And in those 3 or 4 months, he would train every single day behind the boat, and I would know who my son is at 17, and he would know who his dad is.
Yeah, he came home one night and he said, you can either finish your final year at DHS in through the boarding establishment, or you can come sail with me to the Caribbean, and hopefully we can find you a coach in America to maybe continue with the paddling. You know? I don't think any kid would say any different. I mean, I said yes. I was super excited. I mean, across the Atlantic, fishing, diving, it's what I live for, you know. And at the same time, I could paddle every day, you know. So I was going to go on an adventure of a lifetime.
With the world at their feet, disaster struck just off the Namibian coast. Hank and Lee almost drowned, and the boat sustained severe damage.
We saw terrible storms, hurricane winds, and we actually ended up at one stage upside down on the Atlantic. The boat had turned turtle, and we ended up limping into Luderitz.
It seemed like the adventure might not happen.
and spent 2 weeks there trying to repair the boat, and we left again 6,000 miles for the crossing. It was pretty awesome to find the guts to want to do that, but he was prepared to do that. He actually said, let's go back and we're going to finish that crossing, and that's what we did.
Setting off from Lüderitz, Hank and Lee began the 7,000-mile voyage to America.
When I crossed the Atlantic sailing every day, I used to watch this video of me racing when I was in Amsterdam, my first World Championships the year before, and I watched the senior men's race over and over again, and I just imagined every time then when I went paddling, I used to jump off the boat, and I just kept those visual shots in my mind, and I just said, yes, that's the guy I want to beat, that's the guy I actually want to beat. And yeah, that was sort of my motivation, My dad used to basically say, training time, jump off, and sometimes I paddled 2-3 hours. There was nothing else to do. It wasn't like the series was coming on TV, or I'm gonna Skype my mate or anything like that. It was raw, So for me, it was just, I love paddling and the ocean, and there was nothing around me. There was nothing below me for like 5.5 kilometers, and nothing around me for a couple of thousand miles. So it was an experience on its own just to paddle. But in the back of my mind, I was just training for this one thing, to become world champion.
He paddled behind that boat for a couple of hours every day. I would sit and steer the yacht and the spinnaker up and race him, and sometimes even had to put the engine on to try and beat him. But he was in his little surf ski next to the boat, thousands of miles from land, a couple of kilometers deep underneath him, sharks everywhere, whales. And that little kid, he paddled Atlantic behind the boat. And after those 4 or 5 months, when we got to America, we had a connection I don't think will ever be broken. Well, I hope not anyway. I realized then that I didn't want to be his father anymore. I wanted to be a friend, and I hope to this day when he comes around for lunch on Sunday, he comes because he wants to, not because he has to.
On the back of the training base paddling the Atlantic, Hank dominated the South African junior champs and was looking set to achieve his goal of winning the world champs later that year. A little father-son rivalry would add some incentive. Lee was an invite to race the Finlandia Clearwater Challenge, a 1,000-mile race from Chicago to New York, and one of the star athletes competing was Greg Barton, 4 times Olympic medalist and an inspiration to both Lee and Hank.
I said, it should be an awesome opportunity, go for it. So he trained really hard for the next couple of months, and went back, and I said to him, I'll win the world title if you can win the Finlandia, And he said, okay, well, I'm first. I remember him phoning me after the first day, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was staying in Cape Town on a farm with my grandparents, and he said, I won it. I did. I won the first day. So I was like, she's unbelievable, Dad. What did he pull out or anything? He said, no, I beat him. So I was like, I said, well, that's the case. I'm going to win the world championships.
Winning the race by over 30 minutes, a triumphant 44-year-old Lee had finally been given the chance to compete for his country against the best in the world. Greg Barton, unable to match Lee, was quoted as saying, I just didn't realize how hungry he was.
Got myself into a nice picture in the back of Time magazine, international, and gave the recognition for hanging in there for those 20 years. So I guess I could say that was my best one.
With Lee having kept his part of the deal, it was Hank's turn to win at the Worlds. But this was not to be. For a second time, rudder trouble meant Hank was out of the race. Perhaps Hank was not destined to achieve his goal. Or perhaps he needed just one more push from his dad. 1 year later, it was time for a third and final attempt at the World Junior Champ title.
My dad left me at the airport, and he said, good luck. He says, just make sure you break away. He said, he sort of gave me an ultimatum that, life will change. You have to go to varsity, or have to get a job, or win the world title. And he said, I'll support you for the next 4 years. Whatever your dreams, if it's Olympics or World Championships, whatever you want to do for the next 4 years. That was my motivation. Into the World Championships, and I managed to break away. I think I ended up winning by close to 4 minutes, and it was probably the greatest title I've ever won. Even today, I think that was my greatest moment. It was probably my defining moment, that I realized then that I was something special. Still to this day, not too many people break away in marathons, and I managed to do it, and I did it early in the race. It was after like 2 kilometers, and I was away, and I didn't look back, and like I say, I got that title, and I've never forgotten.
The decisive victory in Sweden was the start of a career of victories that continues to this day.
there's not too many people can understand the feeling, but I think it's a lot to do with contentment, you know, like everything's been worthwhile, and yeah, it's just pure satisfaction.
Hank has won every major marathon canoe and surf ski title in South Africa and in many other countries, from the US to Australia.
He won the World Junior Championships when he was 17 years old by a couple of minutes. Never been done before, never has been done again. And he proved then that he had the potential to go somewhere incredible. In countries like Hungary, Germany and Denmark, places like that, where canoeing is one of the major sports, he's a household name. So unfortunately for us, he hasn't really had the recognition that maybe he deserves, but that's the name of the game. Obviously, my best of the best of the best is to watch my little boy go along and still go win that title, the fastest marathon paddler in the world.
My dad's always been my coach, and he always will be. Regardless if he's the one that's writing my program or not standing on the bank, he's just my coach. You know, he's coached me mentally, emotionally, and obviously the physical part. You know? So I always looked up to him on that, and nothing will ever change. We've got a great bond, the two of us. You know, I wouldn't say he's my father, he's my coach, he's my friend, he's all around. You know, he's a person that I can always phone and I can always tell my feelings, and yeah, we're there for each other and more than just a father and son. So we've brought back a couple of titles, and I think it's a great achievement for us and as a family. For me, it's been a great career so far.
He won the worlds now 3 times. Can't get better than that. Hank McGregor's made it.
Who makes champions? They forge themselves. They choose to walk a different path, hold their heads a little higher than the rest. And it never hurts to have a dad, coach, and friend to help you along the way.
I'd say the only person I know who's put thousands and thousands of hours to achieve his goal is Hank. Yeah, he's got to be my hero.
Paddling is just pure enjoyment, and like I say, if I'm going to come and train, I'm going to train my heart out to make sure that I can race my heart out. So end of the day, I think I just, you know, don't take anything for granted, because you might not be here tomorrow.